My name's Matt Rollins, and thanks for joining me today. I want to start to look at communication and look at really, in this clip, the power of communication. Very few of us realize how powerful words are and our capacity to work with them, to create with our language. Words have this phenomenal capacity. I want to put on some images. And as you look at these images, what do you see? What comes to your mind? Maybe some of the tools you'll know, and you'll have a word or a name that comes to your mind. Some of the images you may not have a name for. Now, the importance of this is that the words that we give to things define the relationship we have with it. So if you know what a tool is, you know how to be able to use the tool. You know what it was created for. You know what someone made it for. If you don't know what the tool is, you may say, well, it's kind of like, but you don't have a name for it, then the relationship is confused. So you could actually say language defines relationships. I have an EpiPen here, and you may look at this and go, well, it's a pen, so you may have an idea for what it's used. Now, if you know what an EpiPen is, you'll have a clear idea. But you go, well, it's a pen, so you think, well, does it write? So you write down on it, and you realize it doesn't write, and you go, well, it's a stupid pen. Well, language has to clarify, and the epi part of pen, epinephrine, is the part that should give clarity. In other words, this is a pen that actually is a shot that you take this off, and you drive it into your leg, and it gives you a shot of epinephrine. So it's not a pen that you write with, which the word would confuse you. It's a pen that you use to give yourself a shot with, you carry around with you. Let me put another image, this time of a man, on the screen for you. Now, what word comes to your mind when you see this image? What name do you use? And remember, the name that you use is going to define how you relate to him. You might call him a beggar. You might call him a human being. What would happen if you changed the name of this person who seems to be begging to a king? Well, would you treat them differently? Would it create confusion for you? Of course it would, because relationships are defined by the words that we use or the names that we give each other. This capacity to name is one of the most untapped potential in all of us. Words don't create reality, but they help us define it. They help us to figure out what something is and how to be able to work with this. And this can be extremely personal as well. An example from my life. When I think it was the first grade, we had IQ tests. This was a few years ago. And I took this IQ test. And the results of this IQ test were that I was borderline mentally retarded. Now, to put it in simple terms, I was stupid. That's what the test was trying to tell me. Now, what happens if I embrace that name about myself? What happens if I say, hi, I'm Matt, and I'm stupid? How does it define my relationships? How do I treat myself? How do I treat others? How do I let others treat me? Well, that word is a key word. The word that I choose will define how I grow up and how I define who I am. So, I could have said, well, I'm just borderline mentally retarded, and accepted that as a framework for myself. But my dad went down with me. My dad went down and talked to the teacher, and my dad said, sorry, my son is not borderline mentally retarded. Well, I had a choice. What words were I going to accept? What the teacher said or what my dad said? Well, I decided to accept what my dad said, that I wasn't stupid. Now, when I look back, I have to think it's funny because I can clearly remember during that year that I didn't like my teacher. And I was not about to do something that she asked me to do, take a test, or to try in any way please her. So I just messed up the test. Now, it's interesting that word could have stuck with me for many, many years had I, or my dad, allowed it to. But it didn't. It wasn't a name that I defined with myself. The words that we use define how we relate to the world around us. I think of sand, I think of silicone, and recreating, renaming something allows us to be able to work with it. The scientific revolution is looking at a combination of different ingredients, remade, rename, allows us to be able to work with something. I think of the whole pro-choice, pro-life argument. You may go, well, it's just semantics. No, it's not just semantics, because whatever you end up calling those cells, whatever name they have, will define who has authority, will define the type of relationship they have, and it really is the struggle in what name we give to those cells in a woman's uterus. The names that we use, the capacity to rename something, is the most powerful tool that we have in our arsenal. A thought to think about. Have a good day. Thanks.